Hi, girls. Hi, girls. This is the hardest part of my job. This hour. This is the golden hour. The cocktail hour will be in about half an hour, so let's just be a little patient. Because this chat that we have coming up is so beautiful. Because this is truly inspiring how the next three guests, they pretty much change the path of their lives just by following their passion. Does anybody know of a store called Sephora? You know Sephora, right? What about if you are the head of that company and then you decide to create your own brand at 67 and change your life forever? Well, that's happening right now. And also, how about if you've been a musician all your life and then you create your own brand and you decide to no longer be a musician for your career? And then how about if you're a brain surgeon and you decide all of a sudden to be a nose, un perfumero? So these three Latinos who are coming on stage are gonna tell you that there's no age for you to chase your dreams and change your life forever. So let me introduce the next panel, which has a very beautiful name, Inclusion in the Beauty Industry. And please give them a big round of applause to Margarita Arriagada, former CEO of Sephora, Sandra Velázquez, La Nopalera, beauty brand, y mi querido amigo Giancarlo Pérez. Enjoy the chat.
Hi, everyone.
Testing, testing. A ver,
Okay, I know we're keeping you
Acércate.
from cocktail hour. We're your closers, girl. We're your closers. But hopefully we can close it with un broche de oro. So we're here to talk to you about the big Latino beauty opportunity. And I mean, we know we are beauty obsessed. And so I want to start first. We're going to do a little bit of sizzle from each of our brands, and then we're going to get into our discussion.
House of Beau is born out of concern for all beings. We want to redefine the way you interact with scents by connecting not just with your five senses, but with your soul. House of Beau aims to exemplify what conscious luxury should mean to all of us. I was born and raised in Mexico. Therefore, it was important for me to showcase my heritage, from scent inspirations and memories to our unique artisanal craftsmanship. Our fragrances are made with natural and sustainably sourced ingredients. Conscious luxury today means responsible production of quality goods, but our aim is to improve our consumers' quality of life by encouraging them to dive deep, to discover their authentic selves free of labels, social structures, and any other expectations. We want people to experience the beauty that comes with authenticity, because we believe that true luxury is not meant to be seen, it's meant to be felt. House of Beau, redefining conscious luxury.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to start first by thanking you for sticking around through the end of the day to hear us out. I want to thank Laughs for the opportunity to have this platform for us to talk to you about what we believe is an incredible, enormous opportunity, and that is beauty within the Latino community. And so I will start with some of the obvious. We're going to talk to you about our experiences. We're going to share our stories. We're going to share some of the challenges and what we think the opportunities are. But most important, I want to start and just level set us. As many of you know, we are the fastest growing segment in our population in the US. Number two, we are beauty obsessed. And so, of course, we over-index in consumption. So our population is growing by 53% in 5 years. The beauty opportunity is that much as big as our growth. We actually outpace, we overconsume, we're over-indexed in the consumption, and we outpace the growth from the non-Hispanic community. We are going through an important groundswell moment right now in the beauty industry. Yes, there are a lot of challenges because we are getting ready to plant the seeds. We're planting that foundation for this future harvest that is to come. And so before I turn it over and I share our stories, I want to make sure that if I leave you with nothing, that if we leave you with nothing, please understand how big this is. Understand that this is our moment and that it's everybody. It's for everybody to participate and engage, regardless of whether you're an investor, whether you're a brand, whether you're an influencer, whether you're a retailer. There is business we're leaving on the table if we don't support and engage in this community. This is not a handout. This is an enormous, lucrative opportunity for all of us, and it's a long time coming. And so we're going to start with the fact that what we know, above and beyond the statistics, we know from survey that our community wants to see us celebrated. They want to see this representation of our stories. And so we're going to start with that, including mine. So I'm your moderator and I'm also your panelist. But we're going to start with Sandra and then Giancarlo. I want you to share with everybody just a little bit more context because we did hear what our backgrounds were, but I want you to know why it is that we got to where we are, and tell us your whys of your brand and what your vision is. We'll start with you, Sandra.
Okay. Test. So yes, my name is Sandra Velasquez, and I started the brand Nopalera in the pandemic. I think all of us are pandemic brands here on the stage today. And really, Nopalera was born from a place of discomfort because I found myself unemployed for the first time in my adult life. I had student loan debt, I had credit card debt, my daughter was 13, I was a single mom, and it was an oh shit moment. How did I get here with no savings, and what am I gonna do about it? Because whatever I did to get me here, I can't keep doing the same thing if I want different results. And so in that moment, I decided it was time to build. You know, instead of working for other brands and building other people's companies, it was time to build. And I had this idea as I was standing in front of my parents' house, and there was a nopalera, which is just, you know, you guys know what that is. And I just thought, why has aloe vera gotten all the love in beauty, right? We all know aloe vera as a beauty ingredient, but the nopal is much more sustainable, much more versatile. And so the idea was to build a high-end Latina brand around this plant that all of us recognized as our own. And it was a two-prong approach. I was going to make it so beautiful and so obviously Latina that all of you would recognize yourselves in it, but also wanted to make it so irresistibly beautiful that other people that had no idea what a nopal was would also want to participate. And so that's how the idea for Nopalera began. Of course, I had no money, so that was a whole other story, which we'll get to.
Your vision?
And the vision was to elevate, to really take our place in beauty. Because when you think of a Latina brand or a Latina business, most people think of restaurants. They think of, gardeners. They think of brands of value. And so I really wanted to just disrupt this Eurocentric beauty space that assumes that if it's French or if it's Italian, it must be a higher price, it must be worthier of that higher price. And so that's intentionally why I called it Nopalera. It's not called Le Cactus, it's called Nopalera. And that was on purpose, to really take our place, our deserved place in beauty as an aspirational Latina brand.
Amen, amen, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. And tell us where you were from, born and raised.
I was born and raised in San Diego, California. My family, and my mother is from Guerrero, Mexico.
Yes. Giancarlo.
Hi, Giancarlo Perez. Thank you for having me. My why is my husband. House of Beau's why is he's always been a fanatic for fragrances. We even have a fragrance room in the house. I think he secretly fantasized with someday having his fragrance company, but he never said anything. And unfortunately, in 2020, his father contracted COVID and passed away, and that really had him reevaluate what he thought life and death meant. And he wanted to do, his father was a very influential man in the way that he lived. He lived with passion, he lived with intention, he lived with purpose. And so when his father passed away, I think it shook up things within him. And I remember we were on vacation, and it's like, I want to live like my father lived. I want to do something that I'm passionate about. And I was like, okay. I didn't know where he was going with it. And then he's like, what if we created our own fragrance house? And I was like, I will do whatever you need me to do, absolutely. I knew that I saw it in his eyes, I felt it in his words. He had so much passion that I knew he and I would figure it out. And, our intention was to create the most beautiful fragrances that told its story, but also inspired people to live a richer life, to improve their quality of life. And it was really beautiful because the messaging of the whole brand was based on on the way his father lived, right? Living life authentically and making genuine connections and authentic connections with people. And that in turn improved their quality of life. And that was our brand DNA. But through the brand and through creating this brand, we started living that way. And everything started to unfold in a beautiful and magical way, and it gave way to what House of Beau is. So our vision is exactly that: redefine the consumer's experience of luxury, because luxury shouldn't be, yes, it goes through your eyes, it's beautiful, it's an object of desire, but we want to make products that are also full of intention, purpose, mindfulness, and improve people's quality of life that way.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And you were born and raised?
Born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Yes. All right, and I'll share a little bit about my story. I originally I'll start with, I'm Peruvian. I was born and raised in Lima, Peru, South America. And I originally started, this is a full circle moment for me, because I started out in fashion. And I spent a little bit of time as a buyer. I spent a little bit of time in the home area. And my experience in beauty really started serendipitously when I was offered a position to be the head of color cosmetics at Sephora when Sephora first launched in the US. And as many of you know, Sephora is a French concept. And the reason I'm going to share this perspective is because it has a lot to do with what we're talking about today. I'm obviously Latina, and I could not relate to Sephora at that time. And so I thought to myself, how can I be the head of color cosmetics when I don't relate to the concept? I can't see myself in the concept. And that's actually what got me the job. The CEO said, we agree with you. We'd love for you to come in and help changed that. And it was the beginning of my journey as being head of merchandising and color cosmetics. Eventually, it led for me to be chief merchant. But it led me on this journey of understanding the nuance and the complexity of driving inclusivity in Sephora, in beauty, period. Because I had the fortunate experience to be able to work with the L'Oreals of the world, with the big institutions, to help change. And so, fast forward, I thought that my calling in life was to really mentor brands and really usher them. That's really what I've done, and I continue to do this to this day. But like you, I experienced a moment where my mother passed away. At the end of 2014, she died of dementia. And I was putting together a photo album of her, and the reality is she loved wearing lipstick. And my mother was a huge inspiration in my life. An immigrant mother who had left comfort to really pursue an environment where she could really be herself and be accepted for who she was. And so I wanted to pay homage. I had this profound reflection at the end of her life. She suffered from dementia, and obviously she didn't recognize me, but every time I took out that lipstick, it made her happy. And she was just, ebullient. And I thought to myself, how is it possible that she could not remember me, but she never forgot how lipstick made her feel? And in that moment, I thought I really wanted to express a point of view that beauty, that there was an opportunity for beauty to be more significant, more thoughtful, more purposeful. And as I looked around in assortments to think, what would I buy for my mom that would be an homage, that would be a celebration of her, that is a lipstick, there wasn't anything that I felt was significant enough. And so there I went, not ever wanting to create a brand, but realizing that I had an important point of view to express. And that led then to this perspective. So it certainly came from a place of heart, but it also came from a place of purpose and intention of wanting to create something that could drive connection, that could be appreciated, that could be valued in time. And there lies, I think, in my perspective in beauty, I realize that there is really still an opportunity to do luxury right, which is so much what I admire of what you both are doing. And to be able to do luxury in an inclusive way, right? Most brands think of themselves as exclusive in order to really be luxury, and I think we're all here to crack that code. So that's my story. What I would love for us to talk to everyone about is
Born and raised,
Lima, Peru, but I started with that. So all three of us launched during the pandemic. Actually, Nopalera and I are celebrating our 30th anniversary this week, right? Wow. So very, very courageous, but we are impassioned about this opportunity. So let's talk about some of the pros and some of the cons, above and beyond the fact that we launched during pandemic. But what has been, you think, the advantage of being a Latina founder brand? And then we'll talk about some of the challenges. Giancarlo, you want to start?
Some of the pros, there's more pros than cons. I feel like some of the pros is it's a privilege to be able to represent Latinos with my brand. It represented with such a beautiful product. I feel like to be able to put forward or to show the world the level of craftsmanship and artisanship from Mexico is incredible. It's a land so rich in culture and talent and resource, and that's untapped. And to be able to showcase that has been beautiful, right? It's a gift. I feel lucky to be able to do that. To put the heritage. Everything about our fragrances, the storytelling, right? All the storytelling, most of the storytelling in beauty is French, it's Italian, it's European. Even all of us, let's not kid ourselves. If we see Paris underneath it, we want to buy it. And so to be able to create things that I know for a fact that my fragrance juices, are more expensive than most of the most expensive perfumes you buy nowadays. And to be able to know that I can create that with intention and purpose and everything, it's beautiful to be able to put my grain of salt in redefining how people think of luxury. And I think that's a huge blessing, and it's a pro.
Completely agree.
What are the cons?
Cons. I think there's no cons. I think that, learning, Bernardo and I had absolutely no idea. I'm a doctor by day, and Bernardo did real estate. We had nothing to do with beauty, and we have absolutely no idea what we were doing. We just knew that we had this passion for fragrance, and there's so many things that we did wrong at the beginning, so many things. But you know what? It made it all the more gratifying to be able to have this final product because we got there ourselves, right? And it also made us resourceful, and it also taught us how to leverage connections in our social connections because, you're so scared. And this is something, Bernardo's like, stop talking about how magical everything is and talk about something that people can learn. If there's something I want you guys to learn is that if you have people around you that can help you, always ask for help. Always ask for help because the worst thing that can happen is people tell you no, you move on and you ask someone else or you figure it out. But in life, you have to learn that you always knock every door you have. And that is how you get to where you want to be.
I think the pros, yes. I think the pros are the same as the cons. The pro is that the community is here. They were ready. It was way overdue. The minute that I turned on the Nopalera website and hit publish, the orders came in. I was like, wait, what? Even the wholesale orders started coming in. So the pro is that it is our time. It is now. It was actually yesterday. We're late to the party. The con is that the people with the power have not caught up yet, right? So the retailers, even when I worked in sales for other brands, I have never presented to a Latina buyer ever in my life, and still have not. And the investors are mostly also not Latinos. And so trying to convince them of our magic, of our beauty, of our history, of the power of the community, the power of our dollars, it's exhausting. Because having to explain your entire lived experience to people is exhausting, right? And that's something that most white men don't have to do, right? And so that's the con, I would say, for me.
Before we move on, I feel like that's something that I learned from Margarita. I had a conversation with her, and she's like, I was talking about a retailer we're speaking to, and she's like, you have to understand your value and that you are bringing something to the table that they don't have. They don't have it yet. They're looking for people like you. And to not know that at the beginning can be detrimental because you don't know your worth yet. So regardless whether you're a Latina, you're Middle Eastern, whatever, in this case we're talking about Latinos, when you have a product that you know is magic, that you know is luxury, that you know is quality, be confident of that. And be confident that you are bringing something to the table for them. You are making them special. Because if you don't act that way, they won't treat you that way.
Amen. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Much of my challenges are similar to yours. Probably the biggest is when I launched, I broke a price ceiling. And I need to tell you, I was horrified. So I launched at the end of 2020. My concept is I make refillable vessels, artistic vessels that personalize your refillable beauty. And I launched with lipstick, and I was just horrified. It was $200, and I was the first one that was horrified by that. And the challenge is breaking through those barriers, right? But once you break through them, you develop that confidence. And I think that we have all experienced empowering ourselves to really lean in on our conviction. We were having a conversation just earlier. I have a lot of experience, and I need to tell you, I had to forget a lot of that experience in order to launch my brand, because that rational part of my brain kept saying, you're crazy. You're crazy to do this. You're crazy to do this at this time in your life. You're crazy to do this kind of a price point. You're crazy to launch in the middle of pandemic. But it really goes back into having that passion and vision for what you want to put out, particularly if it's unique and different. What I think some of the challenges that we experience, and coming from a retailer perspective, is the fact that there is a lot of sameness. Today, just being a Latina brand is not enough of a differentiation. You really have got to be very distinct because the space is crowded. So the good news is the opportunity is big. The challenge is it is very competitive. It is saturated. There are incubator programs out there that are creating brands, that are putting this talent with this product, and and here we go. Let's get some influencers, and here we go. We can create a business. That's what we're competing with. But the beautiful thing is that our community wants our stories. They want our authenticity, and they're willing to invest. They're willing to support us. So an important advantage for me that I never expected is how embraced I was by the community. It is what keeps me going every single day. They're championing the brand, and they're reinforcing it. And then some of the challenges, I think. I certainly experienced a few people that said to me, "Why would you create a brand at this price point that your community cannot afford?" Which gave me, such fuel to the fire on proving the wrong. So there's a lot of stigmas that we've got to break through. As you will know, the affluence is there, and the desire is absolutely there. But those are some of the challenges. I'd love for us to talk a little bit about what do you think are some of the fundamental changes that need to take place? The big ones. Obviously we need to insert ourselves, and across the board as leaders, we need to raise voice. But let's talk a little bit about that.
I think that the biggest change that needs to happen is that more of you all need to succeed. More of us need to succeed. More of us need to become people with economic power in positions that can help others, because it has been my experience since launching Nopalera that the first people that open doors, the first people that have written me checks, the first people that have introduced me to buyers have been other Latinas. And so what does that mean? It means that there needs to be 25 margaritas in the world, not just one, right? We need more of us who succeed, and that's what I really want for all of you. If you're designers or whatever it is that you're creating, please dream big. Please aim for the stars. Do not let your current financial circumstances dictate your vision or your brand or what you think you can accomplish. I started with negative $100,000, right? And now Nopalera is in 400 stores, and I've raised over $2 million of institutional capital, and that's because I literally just dreamt big, and now I'm trying to dream even bigger. And I think that that's what I would like to offer to all of you, and that's the change that needs to happen, is that do not let your current circumstances constrain you. And then please, all of you win, because it's going to be all of you that is the next Estefania, that creates another laughs across different countries, right? We need more of us to win.
Amen.
Yeah, I think I want to echo what Sandra said. I know that these things sound cliche. It's like, well, of course, you dream big. Everyone says that. You have to, because you'll never achieve anything unless you really do it. I always think to myself, I run sometimes and I go on a whim, and I was like, if I make it and people ask me that, what would I say? I was like, I would say the same cliche thing. It's like you have to have laser focus and say, this is what I'm doing. Because if you sat there and you made a list about everything that could go wrong and everything that's against what you want to achieve, you'll never achieve it. So you have to put your blinds and say, this is where I'm going. I don't care if it seems I'm going broke tomorrow. This is what I'm going to do, and that's what's going to lead you to success. Nothing else. As cliche as it sounds, it's cliche for a reason. And I also think that we need more people like Margarita and Sandra who are open and who help each other and who we can learn from each other, because together we're stronger. And I feel when people help each other, we'll get there faster.
Amen. I completely agree. And I would second that because I've seen it for a long time. We need to pull together. We need to raise voice. We need to be a community. We need to help each other out. I would love it if Laughs could extend this into beauty, and perhaps next year it's a little bit more, I'm manifesting that. Perhaps next year it's more robust. But we have to vote with our wallets. We've got to shape the future that we want to see happen, because we can make that happen. We know we're the only ones that know what this future should be shaped like, and how it should be represented, and and how inclusive and diverse and beautiful it is. So it does. We need leadership. But it starts with us. It starts with how you're investing today. It starts with you going into Sephora. You're going into Sephora. Who are you voting with your own dollar? Because that representation, that inclusivity is a future that is needed for every single culture group, not just ours. It's just not segregated. Not here's your section for the 2-3 Latina brands that are on there. That's not the future. And so it really does depend on us. And we're here to support each other. I know that this conference is so important to network, but to share all those learnings and to really reinforce each other, this is what we do. For me, the larger vision with my brand, it came from a place of heart, and I absolutely want to see inclusivity in the luxury space. But at the same time, I want this to be a platform for me that allows me to impact. Last year, I launched a Latinx Beauty Grant to support Latinx beauty entrepreneurs. We're in the second year. Sandra happened to be my winner last year. And for me, the future is that we help each other out financially, that we are the investors, that we are succeeding so that we can invest in ourselves. Do you all agree? All right, so a few more questions. I know we're keeping you from the cocktails.
Someone bring the tequila to the stage so
yes,
we can start early.
Yes, we're ready. Tequila
We
with
deserve
jalapeno,
it.
por favor, please. So, looking back, what would you have done differently?
Me?
Yeah?
Nothing, because I am where I am
I wanna
today.
ask you.
Would you do something different, Bernardo? I was just telling Sandra, I did neurosurgery, and it was the most miserable years of my life, right? I was training to do something. It was like a boot camp every day, and I just wanted to kill myself every day. And it was something that I wasn't even passionate about, right? I did it for the wrong reasons, and Sandra and I had this conversation. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do today. It gave me the discipline, the drive, the motivation, everything that I needed to be able to have these companies and succeed. And that's why I don't think anything is ever a con. It's how you look at it, right? And what you can get out of it.
Agreed. Let me phrase it this way. What do you think you did really, really right?
What did I think I did really, really bad?
Right.
Oh, right.
Other than this?
Not everything. I'm not saying I do everything right. I'm saying I turn it into a good. Right. I led with passion. I led with instinct, and I listened to my husband.
That's always the right
That's number
answer.
one, right?
Sandra.
I don't think that I would change anything. One of the benefits, we talked about this backstage as well, about being ignorant, and ignorance is bliss. I didn't realize that when I had this big idea to create this aspirational Latina brand, that I was entering into a category that was run by people who were all former Estee Lauder executives. And so here I used to be the lead singer of a band. I didn't even know how to find ingredients, let alone a co-packer. I didn't know how to find anything. This is why I made the products myself for the first year. And so I think had I known that I was going up against people that were literally 17-year veterans of like Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, who had all the connections to not only the manufacturing partners, the investors, everything. And here I was using my American Express card to buy ingredients off of Amazon, to start out. And so that was a blessing, because now my story, right, to your point, it's important for us to share our stories, and it's important for us to be vulnerable, because that's actually what connects us. For us just to sit here and say, we have these great brands, we're in such and such retailers, how is that helpful to you? It's not, right? If I tell you the real story, that's really what's helpful to you, because that's what shows you that if I can do it, so can you. And so my story has become like this underdog story, in the industry, and it has really galvanized and inspired other Latino, founders, because they see me as them, because I am them. I'm not more special, I'm not smarter. I just chose, I bet on myself, I chose myself. So I don't think I would change anything.
I loved how you both launched. I'm obviously into aesthetics. Aesthetics is an important thing for me, but I love both of your brands. Obviously, you've had to have made the decision to invest in your brand identity and the creative and the visuals. I just think that what I want to impart is that the days, and I know that you made your soaps in the kitchen, but those days are long gone. They're tough. The days of like, I have a concept and I made this in my kitchen and here I was dabbling with it. It just doesn't get you that point of entry anymore. Or, I bootstrapped with this with $5,000. I think you spent more than that on your credit cards. I know that you maxed out your credit cards. And so what I loved about both of these brands is, and you're both in different price points, price categories, right? They really worked on their brand identity. That story, there's such clarity, because I look at brands as a retailer, as an investor, as a mentor, and as a brand founder. And I think that you both did such a beautiful, beautiful job. There's such distinction. You really have got to take a look at these brands. Different price points, but such distinction. And I think it sets you apart. And you obviously must have made a decision to invest, right? You invested in brand identity.
Yes, I knew that was going to make or break it. No one can see your ingredients. No one can smell your fragrances through the box. Mm-hmm. They have to first be compelled to pick it up. Yeah. So yes, I used my credit card. I asked for a payment plan, but I knew that was critical to the success. It's an aspirational category.
Yeah, I mentor a lot of brands, and I can tell you that there is such little effort. And you saw the presentation from MasterCard, right? It's important. Branding is important. For me, I still feel like I'm launching. I'm in the uber luxury price point. And I'm still very much at the phase of building that brand equity, building that brand story, that storytelling, that narrative. What I would also offer is that this storytelling, this understanding your why, understanding your vision is a really, really important part of sustainability on your brand, but also understanding every single other aspect that goes into the business of business is really, really important. And you would be surprised how many brand founders will say to me, no, I don't know about that. I will ask them, okay, well, how much is it costing you to ship this? Or, what's that line item on your pre? No, I don't know. I have somebody else that does that. No, no. You need to know this. You need to know the business of doing business and beauty, and there is just not enough of that. And it's separating the brands really, really fast. There's a lot of brands that will reach out to me and say, okay, I launched my brand. It's really, really cool. I really love the products. They may even have a community, which I think is important today, that you have your built-in community. Okay, now I need money. What can I do? And no, it's not going to happen if there's not enough business savviness into the development of the brand. And so I would share that because I know that you and I talk a lot about how do we get more funding, because funding is a challenge. Funding is a challenge, as you heard earlier today, for any entrepreneur in the beauty industry, let alone women, let alone Latinos. So we got to work really, really hard. So takeaway for me, an important takeaway, is start with that vision, start with distinction. Make sure that you can really tell your brand apart from a white space opportunity, both from a product and a brand positioning, and then really be very, very knowledgeable about the business of the beauty business. Would you agree?
1,000%, and I'm in that right now because I'm working on a deck, and you have to know the ins and outs. And I agree. I also talk to a lot of other Latina founders, and the reality is a lot of businesses don't make it past the 6-figure mark. They stay small. They're very passionate. They're very passionate about their product, about their communities, about their ingredients. But you're running a business, right? So decide what kind of business do you want to build. And really say it out loud to yourself. Declare it to yourself. Declare it to the universe. I am building a big business. I am building a global brand. Or I am building a small business. Like, say it out loud, because whatever it is that you want, that you decide, is what's going to happen. But you have to decide. And the numbers, you can't get away from them. So I also don't love them, but I have learned to love them because it tells you the story of what's actually happening in your business and how to price your products and what should you make next. And is this retailer, we were talking about this backstage, is this retailer bringing me any money? Maybe not. So what is the retailer for? And when you do go to raise money, if you ever do, you need to come very confidently to those conversations, because ultimately that's why people are going to write you a check, because you know your business.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that even for, when know the business of beauty, we absolutely did not know anything. But like I said, leverage your contacts. I feel like people are like, how did you do this? How are you so smart? It's like, I'm actually not that smart. I'm a very resourceful idiot. So every time I have to make a decision, I have 5 people that I absolutely trust implicitly. And I always ask them, and I make an informed decision from those conversations, right? You're not gonna know everything. Realize that. And ask around and use your resources. The first mistake you're going to do is thinking that you have it and you have it under control and you'll be able to do it. You'll never be able to do it alone. You have to use everything around you.
Can I add to that, Margarita? Because for me, the challenge was, how do I find those people? And so just in case anyone out in the audience is asking, that's really great advice, Giancarlo, but what if I don't have a network? What if I'm a musician and everyone I know is a musician and they don't know anything about numbers either? So what I had to do is, not what I had to do, what I did was I chose to apply to every accelerator, every cohort, every mentorship program, because I had to put myself into new rooms with new people that did know, because I did not know. And so if you don't have the network, you have to go out and actively look for the network. That's what this is, right? That's what LAFS is, right? So I know that we've all said network, but continue. It's not just you come to one conference. It is that you reach out to people on LinkedIn. You ask people, do you know anybody that knows anybody that knows anybody that knows how to build a financial model? And then hopefully at some point someone will say yes. And so it might take a lot of effort in the beginning, but eventually it will start to snowball. Right? Because once you meet one investor, here's the thing, everybody, here's the secret. All the rich people know each other. So you meet one person with the money, they will introduce you to 5 more people with money. You meet one person who's a perfumer, guess what? They know other perfumers, etc. Right? So you just need to meet that one. But sometimes that can be the hardest, is to how do I find that someone who knows someone? I just wanted to add that in case anyone out there is feeling alone.
So we're out of time. I don't know if we have time for a couple of questions or not, but we really appreciate you hanging in.
We're the last session of the day, so no one is waiting for us to leave. So we're going to sit here for as long as you guys want. Who has questions? Yes.
Aww.
Thank you.
So the question is, how did you prepare for your first pitch?
To investors, right? Yes, when I was raising capital, yes. So another thing I had never done before in my life. So again, I'm trying to ask people, other investors. At that point, I had met investors, so I'm asking them, from your perspective, what do you like to see, right? And I'm just trying to do the best that I can to tell the story in a very succinct way. When you are building a deck and presenting, you're mostly narrating the story. You're not having a lot of text on the slides. So it's what Margarita asked. Why? What is the why? Why does this product need to exist? Why does it need to exist now? Why are you the best person to run this brand? They're investing in you in the beginning. So I think the most important thing, yes, the numbers are important, but you have to show up confidently. And even if you are gonna fall apart and drink tequila on the floor afterwards, that's fine. But in that moment in the presentation, it has to be the full confidence of your entire ancestors behind you coming with full force to present the passion and the vision for the brand. And how it has evolved is that it's always evolving. I thought that I had the message down. I'm like, the deck is already done. I'm just gonna reuse the same one. No, we're still tweaking because every time you talk to an investor, they're gonna have a question and you're like, oh my God, I thought that was clear. Let me bring that up in the deck, make it slide number 2. And so I have 17 versions of the deck, and I'm still tweaking one right now. And I'll probably still be tweaking it when I go to raise a Series A because it's always evolving based off of the feedback that you're getting from whoever you're talking to. So you never arrive, sorry to say.
Well, listen, we're going to be around. So in case anybody else has a question, you can reach out to us. But it's time to have cocktails.
Yay.
Here's the end to the first day.
But just before we do that, today is somebody's very special day. So I want you all to sing happy birthday to this beautiful little girl here in the front. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Luciana. Happy birthday to you. Bravo! I want to remind you all that we can now go and have fun, have a cocktail at the pop-up, and let's shop. Let's just get drunk and celebrate today. It was awesome. So I'll meet you up at the pop-up. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you tomorrow. Feliz cumpleaños, Luciana.